work. All right, we're live now. This is good. So let me get me over here and get it evened out. I do apologize. I had to change location. I'm here traveling in the Middle East, and I'm not always getting the best internet reception, and it just shut off in my hotel. So looking forward to. There's some people talking over here. Uh, I'm looking forward to completing our conversation. Tell me, um, insofar as the LGBT community is concerned, and I apologize for getting cut off so many times, and I want you to get this message across to the public. Uh, you're supporting uh, the Palestinian organization or the Gaza Strip, and I've been watching on the news all the time something going on over there. How is it that a group of very passionate and intelligent people like yourself and your community support an organization or a group of people that may kill you if you show up there, being of the same capacity? That might happen, and that has happened in that part of the world. How is that possible?
Are you
Can you
talking
explain that to our audience?
who's going to kill me, the Palestinians or the
Yeah,
Israelis?
oftentimes, yes. Not the Israelis. No, I don't think the Israelis, but definitely uh, parts of the Middle East don't look very kindly to the community. So there are some moths flying around here. I apologize. But go ahead. Tell me, what is your take on that? You just burrow past that, is what you're saying.
I think that the community is meant to be a beacon of hope for people who are oppressed. And maybe we can't go to Russia, and maybe we can't go to Israel, and maybe we can't go to Jamaica, but like people need to know if they can dial in and get access to us. They might be restricted, like the internet might be restricted in Israel and Palestine. We might not be able to send messages of love and hope, but we support Palestine, or I do, and a lot of my friends do.
Of course, genocide is genocide, or atrocities are atrocities anywhere in the world. But oftentimes it's not as complex as a circumstance like in which Israelis and the Palestinians find themselves right now, because this is a couple thousand year war or problem that has never ended, and it's rooted in religion, it's rooted in culture, and it's rooted in the politics. So how do you navigate through all of that is just beyond me. So I was wondering your perspective on that.
For me, the only way to navigate anything is to pray. So, when you take time to yourself to think and to focus about the vibration that you're sending out into the universe and the vibrations that you feel from other places, it's just an individual his experience. Like the whole queer community doesn't support this. I support this, and a lot of my friends do. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not as invested in this as it may seem. It's just I don't think there's much to do right now that we can do besides come together and hold vigils and be there to support through grief.
And the college campuses across the nation, outside of the LGBT community across the United States, on the college campuses, they are protesting quite a bit, and in favor of the Palestinians there, and that's causing a lot of uproar and a lot of violence. What do you think is accounting for that?
Causing violence on college
On
campuses.
college campuses and the clashes with the police, the clashes with other students who may be Israeli, for instance. What do you think? What do you think is happening there?
I feel like any college or any university of higher thought and higher learning should be ashamed. It's like you bring people to your campus to learn and to grow and to express yourself, and you should be creating a safe space for people to do that. Instead, you're trying to use the police as a weapon, and
So the
they're
weaponization of the protests is what you think is happening
well, yeah,
now.
they're I mean, with Occupy Wall Street, that was a big movement in New York that I was part of, and then they occupied another place in New York City a couple of years later, it's like they're just occupying space. I mean, we take up space in this world, us queer people and just people in general. So we should occupy these spaces. Those colleges, some are privately run, some of them aren't. And it frustrates me that they aren't trying to uplift and uplift our voices. They're trying to oppress them because every institution, include from like if you're McDonald's to Yale University, everyone has an opinion on Palestine. Everyone in some way is connected to it, whether you're funneling money or trying to stop money from coming in. It's like everybody has a relationship to this one point in the world.
Well, I like your perspective. It's very open minded. I think that over time, people are going to start to adopt a more comprehensive approach towards the problem there or the conflict. I think people are taking a very superficial approach to it now because they're trying to figure it out. And I think as time ensues, it'll become something a little bit more um, supported or not, depending upon the side of the table people fall on. But I want to ask you a question
It,
about your own
one more
religion.
thing, just one more
Uh,
thing. I would
sure, go
say
ahead.
also as a message to President Biden, it's like you lost our vote, dude. You
Hmm.
lost the youth vote. You lost the queer vote. Nobody wants you anymore. Nobody wants you anymore, and you're not the only other option in this world. It's like the fact that he continues to fund these people is incredibly disgusting. But we can
Well,
move on to
it
another
isn't
topic.
just about him funding it. Well, it isn't just about the president funding them. It's about tradition of the United States. That goes back, decades, and probably the last century. Well, at least since the end of the beginning of World War II to the end of World War II until now. So the it's not normally incumbent upon a president to change policy midstream. And that's been the U.S. policy support Israel since its inception. This time, not the one 2,000 years ago, but the one today. It's been the policy. So it takes normally in any presidential administration, just as a fact, any fiscal policy or international policy when it comes to siding with different organizations and governments, it normally takes 3 to 5 years for it to transition comfortably without it being a burden not only to the United States but also to other parts of and other parts of the world, and to include the governments in which we're discussing. So normally that's the rule. So let's say um, let's say uh, Biden decides that he's going to allow for uh, something to happen, a new air base to be built in Egypt, and and then the Egyptians, and they're working it all out, and they approve it today. It's going to take 3 to 5 years for that air base to become a part of that policy and those allocations of funds, the politics behind it, the additional laws, the codification, all that takes time. Like when I remember when Trump added tariffs to uh, the budget. He added tariffs. What people didn't know, they were like, yeah, more tariffs on China, more this, more that. What people didn't know, that tariffs is just another form of tax. That's all it is. A tariff is a tax. And the governments don't pay those taxes. The people pay those taxes to the government. So when China sends you up your tariffs to 30%, 30 points on your tariffs for China, China does the same to us. And then, so that's now a 30% markup on all goods to and fro China. In addition to that, the other partners and players around the world with those tariffs have to do the same thing to keep up in the marketplace and to be competitive. So they start to mark up against the United States, and the United States marks up against them. Now, everything in the world costs more money, but it didn't happen immediate. It takes 3 to 5 years because remember there was that large supply chain block, and for about a year, nobody could get goods on time and all of that. Right after Trump left office and during the Biden administration, all of that was because of those tariffs. Every bit of it was because, and all of the high prices we see today, those tariffs did that. I know people don't like to blame Trump for that, But it is he actually when you raise tariffs, it's not going to be an immediate effect. It takes years for it to take effect because everything that's in the supply chain has to be sold, and the orders made that's already made have to be distributed, and people have to use those products and services, and then come the new pricing, and that's what raised the prices of everything in the world. Most people don't know that. They don't look at it. They look at who's ever in office, is the fault. No, it's Reagan's fault. It's Nixon's fault. It's LBJ's fault. It's Kennedy's fault. It's both Bush's fault. It's Clinton's fault. It's Obama's fault. It's all of those presidents prior to, and Trump's fault. It's all of those presidents prior to Biden in a long line of tradition to support them. And the funds have been allocated a long time ago to support his entrenched in American doctrine. So for him to be the president, just as the president to change course, would be a major function, and Israel wouldn't see, or Palestine. Let's say he switched right now and say he's not gonna support Israel anymore. Let's say he said that. It would, but then he said, I'm gonna support Palestine. Let's say he said that hypothetically. It'll take 3 to 5 years for those contracts, for that build out, for those funds to be allocated, for all of that. So just stopping it as the war machine or the military industrial complex like it is now, just stopping it is almost impossible. So I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I don't want to take that position on that. I have my own ideas about it. I'm former special forces, so I understand war better than most people on the planet. If I took all the police in the entire world and all the militaries in the entire world, and I put them in one group, all the law enforcement, all the FBI's, Interpols, CIA's, all everybody, and put them in one bunch of people right here. And then I took everybody else that existed in the entire world and I put them over here. What do I have? I have a group of protectors and I have a group of people being protected. Those group of protectors come out to about 1% of the entire population that's ever lived, while the other group represents about 99%. So there's only about 1% of the people in the world that protect anyone. You get it? So what I'm saying to you is what's happening in Israel, we definitely need to take a step back and look at it and weigh it against what policy is, what existed, the logistics of it. It's kind of hard to, you know, make that determination without going through that cycle. But anyway, let's leave that alone.
Yeah, what was your other question?
I wanted to know about your religion, about how you were brought up, and what do you believe, and how have you struggled with your religion, or how have it's been a help to you in your life?
Well, this Sunday was a big moment for me. I resigned from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I handed in a letter, and I appreciate the conversations, Michael, that we did have about it because it affirmed a much stronger language in myself to be uh, definitive in what I wanted. And instead of saying this isn't real to me or this isn't real to, like, I can't believe this is real to you, I said this isn't real. And the journey that I'm on, I don't feel will leave a dent inside of me. In fact, it feels like it's like a blemish that I was able to rub off. And I feel so much more intention right now that I was able to do something that I really struggled with all week, praying in my garden about. And I've purged, I've purified, I've got on my 2 feet amongst many other chaotic things that are also happening in my life simultaneously. And I stood as strong as I could in my truth. And I'm here right now feeling very, very good.
Well, sometimes that release is necessary, but religion is a big thing. I mean, you grew up in the Church of the Latter Day Saints, and explain to our audience, just in case. Uh, Most people have heard of Latter Day Saints, but they don't know what it really means. What does that church mean in comparatively speaking? What does that church mean? Tell us why you say it's unreal or not real.
The church believes in a restoration of the gospel, thinking that Jesus came down to restore the gospel here on earth. And They believe in a modern day prophet, prophets like Moses and Abraham who are living today, who are receiving modern day revelation. So, back in the restoration of the church in the 1800s, Joseph Smith said that he saw an angel, and the angel led him to a grove, and behind, under a rock were golden plates. And upon these golden plates were written the record of a lineage that had come from the house of Abraham. And these people had traveled across the water, or walked across the land if it was connected, into the Americas, and they have this whole history, and they have a whole history of prophesizing that this Jesus will come down and give them information as well. So the Mormons believe that Christ is the creator of the earth, and that he came down to allow us to be resurrected as he was once resurrected, and that when we return to heaven and meet our Heavenly Father, we will have our bodies returned back to us and be united again with our family. So the Mormons are a very family oriented religion, and it's very structured through the patriarchy that um, you know you come in as a child or a person seeking refuge from a bad experience that you had, like you went to prison, or like you're somebody, something bad happened, sometimes brings you into it, and you go through a bunch of lessons, and then eventually you get the choice to be baptized. But they give that choice to 8-year olds, and those 8-year olds go to primary, and during primary they have scripture shouted at them in a very calm way. And I feel that it's not real because what they're teaching isn't real. This never happened. There's no record of the Lamanites and the Nephites. It it above anything confused me because I am a fantasy world builder, and to live amongst a fake mythology my whole life with these great stories, which are like pretty much if you took the Bible and chat GBT and like generated a new story, it would be the Book of Mormon. It's very micromanaged. And this man, Joseph Smith, during the time was looking for a new religion amongst a time period where many people were looking for a new religion. And he was a con artist, and he was into magic, and he was a Freemason. And he and a bunch of his friends wrote this book and then wouldn't allow anybody to see these golden plates. And he led these people in that area out into Illinois and then eventually into Zion. And he sent missionaries to Sweden and seduced my relatives to come across the water and pull hand carts to Utah. He was a polygamist. He had a wife who was 13 or 16 years old. He created an evil vibration in this world, and that vibration is like a matrix that's pulled over these people's minds. It's like they might as well, the prophet and the stake president and the bishops, they might as well be agents of the matrix. It's like they're completely coded. They will not allow you to gain access to any of their spiritual endowments unless you behave and subordinate. And as a homosexual, they're like, it's fine that you're gay, but don't act on it. And if you act on it, well, then you're breaking the law of chastity. And because you're breaking the law of chastity, you have no right to speak in church. You have no rights at all. And they say they don't have any authority to help you. They're like completely, it's mind boggling. It's just
There's
mind.
no dominion, but at the same time, they want to have dominion, is what you're saying.
Yeah, when I went to the bishop and when I went to the stake president to hand in my letter of resignation, they're like, well, I have no authority. It's like, you don't have any authority. You're the one choosing if it's okay for me to take the next step. It's just
So
like
yeah, so there's a never-ending path that goes, as you're saying, nowhere.
goes nowhere.
And
It goes to the
and,
temple. Yeah,
and you're saying it's a fantastical. operation in itself, where people are just kind of making it up as they go along,
No, it's
and
all set
or
in stone. It's like all the rules are there, but they like to change things. They don't even say you're excommunicated anymore. They like to just shift and tweak things. It's like the Book of Mormon that Joseph Smith came out with, his original manuscript, has nothing to do with what they're preaching now. And I my family has experienced so much abuse from this church. And one of the people that holds a super high office is a family member of mine. And he is abusive physically to me, my cousin, his wife, and my mother. And I have police records about him being abusive, and that it has been brought to the church many times. But I finally went and delivered this message myself, that they would take action against this person and question his family, because he destroyed so much about
Mhm.
my family. And no one can do anything. No one in the church can do anything, because all you have to do is lie to them. And then once you say the lie, they just let you into the temple. It's like they have
So
such,
it's about recruitment more than it is about policy, or more is it about faith? It's more about recruitment, is what you're saying?
well, they recruit you, but then they say, if, like, you just pray as much as you want about this, but eventually, if you don't come to understand that it's true, well, you can't stand up in testimony meeting at the first Sunday of every month and tell them what you don't believe in. You can only tell them what you do believe in.
Wow.
And they just want to, yeah, it's like I couldn't go up and tell them that, like, I struggle with this and this and this. It's like
But you do
they
believe
told
in God. You believe in God,
me. I
of
believe in God.
course, because you believe in God. I believe in God, the universal. I think there's a universal God, and I think that religion is just a breakdown of society's roles that they play with different sects and groups and organizations in order to further divide people and define what they want to get out of it. I've never really agreed with religion of any type, or any organized religion, I should say. So I understand your plight. I really do. I didn't have to resign or anything like that. That must have been a big decision to have to go and want to resign.
Well, everyone's like, didn't you leave this church after you left Brigham Young University, Taylor? I was like, no, I never left the church. I never erased my name. I've always been, I made covenants to God. Like, why would I turn that away? That's a relationship I have with God. But like,
Exactly.
I have my own covenants with God now as an adult. It's like, and now I need to live up to those covenants that I made as an adult, not as a child.
Okay. Okay. We can get off the subject of religion now. Just for one moment, I want to ask you, what are some of your hobbies? What's your favorite hobby?
My favorite hobby is to watch movies again and again and again. It's like, as you watch things, as you grow up, you notice things you never noticed, and then you start to understand how stories are developed and what things are planted there for narratives to start, taking
What are your
different turns.
favorite movies?
The Matrix is a favorite movie. The
That's a
Odyssey,
reality within a reality within itself.
yeah.
Uh,
I like
Go ahead.
the The Memoirs of a Geisha is one of my favorite movies. It's about a geisha who's a slave and is sold into slavery and then made into this beautiful object that men will then pay. But it has a lot to do with the culture around
Understand?
Japan. It's like, if you've ever seen Madame Butterfly on Broadway, she's a 13-year-old geisha who gets purchased, and then they bring her in on a silver platter in this procession, and this young girl falls in love with this 40-year-old man who leaves her, and then she kills
Mhm.
herself. It's like, these are the stories that I find the most connection to. Like, I love Game of Thrones, I love Lord of the Rings. I'm actually just starting to read Lord of the Rings again.
Yeah.
Love
Lord of the
fantasy.
Rings, Game of Thrones are some of my favorites as well. I've never seen the Geisha
Dude.
trilogies that you were just speaking of. I've never seen those, but I think I'll I'll try if you'll, of course, message me those names. So a geisha is the, aren't they untouchable in Japan? Aren't they
Yeah,
untouchable?
you can't touch them. They're just there to perform in Kyoto at the tea house, do a
Right.
dance, play a song, pour you sake. But eventually, it turns out that it costs a lot of money for the group in who's running the geisha house to buy you from your family, and you've racked up all this money in charges for breaking your leg. Well, now you have to pay that back, and you have to pay back this money, and so they sell their virginity to the highest bidder.
That's an interesting system of governance and self. Okay, so tell me,
But
um, go ahead. What's important to you these days? If you had a passion for anything and you wanted to tell the audience or the world, tell me, what's important to you and what do you stand for?
I want to inspire a generation to make a change. I want communities to come together and work harder. I volunteer at the Baptist church down my block helping a woman cook food, and she brought me to one of their events, and the Jews were there, and the Baptists were there, and they were coming together to sing and to celebrate. I want everybody to start working together. And
Collective.
yeah, I mean, if you're into astrology, and I'm trying not to confuse anybody, but like my 10th house is in Aries, which is about like being a leader for myself in my public life. But now my 11th house is in Aries, which is about my community. Now it's about taking what I learned and helping unite my community, the fairies, the queer community, and bringing them together with other powerful communities, the Black community, the Muslim community, the any community, the homeless community. And
It's
I
creating alliances and other, you want to create alliances with the community in order for
even the
change and good.
even the Mormons have they're the best first responders. They have a lot of money. If there's a hurricane and people need aid, they're the first ones that are going to be there. You know, like there's good parts to a lot of communities, and there's bad parts, but like we can all work together. That's what I want to do.
I like that very much. You have a great, very strong mission in life, and you're very clear-minded about it. You know who you are, from what I've surmised. I think you have a very soft heart. You care about people, and that's good. Oftentimes, straight, gay, or otherwise, people are walking around with hardened hearts these days. And it's also because people there are a lot of people in the world who can't articulate abuse. They can't articulate the destruction and the mayhem that they see every day on the news, and they're internalizing it, and that's causing trauma in their lives. And oftentimes they are not in connecting connection with their spirits, and they leave a lot to be uh, discerned in their life without getting to a point where they understand themselves. So, norm therapy, we look at opportunities, and this is a very, there's actually something spraying in my eyes from the vent over here, and I don't like being around air conditioning that much
I do
because
have I do have another hobby interest I'd like to share.
okay, and I would love to hear it because we know we're way over, but we can talk because we had a lot of technical difficulties. But go ahead.
My other passion in my life is my genealogy. I have access to my mother's side of the genealogy through the Mormon church, and it goes back to the 1100s.
Very accurate.
I can track myself to King Henry in England. I can track myself. I'm related to Princess Diana. It's like there are lords, sirs, knights in that line. But then on the other side, it's Jewish. It's like my family came from the Ukraine. I know when they crossed to Ellis Island. I know I have like the ticket that they,
Lineage.
and like learning about who these people are teaches me about who I am. and the passions that burned in them burn in me. It's like these Mormon pioneers. Imagine crossing the plains, and it's like the Oregon Trail. It's like they had so much fire in them to do that, to leave the
It was
Ukraine.
not easy. It was not easy.
It, that's my real hobby, and I've got a lot of work. My house is covered in pictures of my family right now. It's like I just think it's fascinating.
Is that your meditation? Is that your meditation?
It
Your
would,
family? Is
yeah,
that your meditation now? Replacing your religion, are you with your meditation and your astrology? Is what you're saying.
yeah.
Okay, now what does that mean to you, your astrology? I want to hear about that. You were talking about the 11th house and the 10th house and where you're landed and where you are and where you are projecting yourself to be, I think, when you get to your 12th house, I guess. So, what does that mean when you say that?
Let Sorry. I do I have a social networking thing that I'm doing for another organization coming up soon, but we can finish this
Okay,
conversation.
okay.
Was the question, what does it mean about your
What,
astrology?
yeah, what does it mean about when you said you were in the 11th house? It was about your family and coming together.
Well, the 11th house is about your community and what your
Hmm.
purpose is with the community.
Okay.
There's different houses for different things. My fourth house has to do with my home life. My third house has to do with my family life, things like that. But it's
Hmm.
an interesting way to have a conversation about yourself by looking at your astrology, because it's fun to break down these different aspects of yourself and be like, well, oh, that's great. Like, that I'm doing this, and then Jupiter's helping me do that, and Saturn's like restricting me to figure something out. Like, people talk about their Saturn returns all the time. What is most difficult for a young person transitioning from being 27 into 35? It's like it's just like a compass, really, if you
Hmm.
start understanding how and why it's saying the things it is. And if you find truth in it, that's good. But it can also be, misleading at times. You have to have a good heart to discern what's real and what's not. And just like my fairy name, it's like it's just a journey to go on. So,
Let me ask you a question. Are you taking advantage of much in your life?
am I been taken advantage of?
Yes. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how much have you been taken advantage of during the course of your life?
Probably 7.
So that's quite a bit. There is a reason why. You're not naive and you're not dumb. There's nothing stupid about you. It's probably because you trust too much. And that's what I'm sensing. I'm putting on my norm therapy hat now, but I think you trust too much. I think we need to have further conversation. I would love once the studio is prepared and have all the right equipment and not traveling, have you on again. And I'll have my notes with me because everything I had to leave and come down here and set this up. I do apologize, but I enjoy talking with you. I think you're very knowledgeable about who you are, and that should be respected no matter what gender you advocate or what position in whatever community you have. And I think that's really something to be admired. I enjoyed you, Taylor. I really did. I look forward to working with you again. If you look at all my videos, when I'm sitting like this on a video, I send those to Taylor, and Taylor edits those for me. So he's doing a great job for the organization. I thank you. I'm going to let you close us out, if you will.
um, just thank you for having me, and I'm very grateful to be here. And the future looks a lot brighter. And I hope everybody can enjoy the nice weather and be good to your mother.
Okay, a nice plug. Thank you, my friend. It's good talking with you, and I look forward to working with you again in the future. Of course, we have ongoing projects at the nonprofit and soon at the for-profit company. Thank you very much. Have a great time. Kelly, you can go ahead and end the live stream. Thank you.